Okay, hey, Brock, can you hear me?
Hey, I can hear you. How's it going?
Good. So you wanted to play something for me, is that right?
Yeah, so I've got a song for you called Kill Shit.
Sorry, it's called what?
Kill Shit.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and play it.
Talent, you know what it is in the street. Hey baby, let's kill shit, broski. What you wanna do? It's whatever, man. You go ahead and rip that shit.
Okay, so just pause it right here. Thought, Brock.
Yeah, what's up?
Do we have a piano?
Yeah, let's go look for one.
Yeah, let's go look. Okay, so we're gonna find a piano, just because sometimes when I'm listening to music, I find it easier to kind of like play my thoughts, if that makes sense. By the way, hi, I'm Andrew Chang, and you're watching About That, the show where we're all about explaining and expanding on the news. What floor are we going to?
We're going to the 10th floor.
10th floor?
10th floor.
Okay. So we're going to the 10th floor to the piano. I guess I should have said a warning at the beginning because there are going to be some pretty explicit language, lyrics in this program just because of the nature of the music that we're listening to. Because my producer, Brock here, wants me to listen to this subgenre of hip hop called drill rap. And my understanding is that it's pretty dark, it's pretty violent, but also it's being blamed in the United States for gun violence. And so we kind of figured that the best way to gauge whether that's fair is just to listen to the music itself.
What you wanna do? It's whatever, man. You go ahead and rip that shit. I'ma come around, clean that shit up. Let's get it. Know a couple down the ride for a homicide when it's drama time. Run up with the lowest flying.
Yeah, so I mean, the feel of the song to me when I listen to it is it's sort of dark and gloomy and almost like claustrophobic in a way, right? And right away he's doing that by playing in a minor key. So, you know, major keys sound happy and uplifting, and you just change one note and all of a sudden it sounds very different, right? And so he's playing in a minor keys. It's like A minor, but except with like, it's like A minor, A flat minor over E flat. So it's more like that. And so it's kind of like, can even play over top.
When it's drama time, run up on them with the longest flying niggas, love boys all traumatized. 150, I'm really with it, I'll drop his ass and never get it on a man.
So it's kind of neat. Even the cadence of now I'm listening to the lyrics, the cadence of the rapping is like this triplet feel, right? Ba 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 ba.
Love baby on the track with me, one mistake and he clap 50. When I hit the same hoes go insane cause they know it.
Yeah, because if he was rapping straight on the beat, like if the beat's like sort of like this, it might sound very generic, right? But he's going, right? It's kind of.
Last back to some killer shit. Got some wild hoes that'll drill a bitch. He has no limit, 30 years, running 30 years, gunning and we still a shit. I never run cause I stay to fight. I cook like steak and rice, and it's hella real. Game bang, gotta pay the price.
Right. So it kind of gives that like driving sort of forward progression, and yeah, the whole thing is just, it's trying to give you a certain vibe. It's interesting. Hey, this might be a good time to jump in and explain a little bit more about why drill rap is so on the radar right now. So listen to this. This is New York City's Mayor Eric Adams from earlier this year.
I had no idea what drill rapping was, but I called my son and he sent me some videos, and it is alarming. You know, I mean, we pulled Trump off Twitter because of what he was spewing. Yet we are allowing music, displaying of guns, violence. We're allowing it to stay on these sites.
His argument that drill rap instigates violence. And listen, there is no doubt that gun violence in the US has been bad, and too often it's rappers who are the ones getting killed. Last month, thousands of people gathered at State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, to celebrate the life of Takeoff. Now, his real name was Kershnik Kari Ball. He was 1/3 of the platinum-selling rap group Migos. He was fatally shot outside of a bowling alley in Houston, Texas. And he was only 28 years old. And count them up. I mean, Takeoff, P&B Rock, Jada Youngin, Trouble, Archie Eversole, Snooty Wild. They're all rap artists that have been killed by gun violence in the US over the last 10 months. That's almost one death every month. But is it fair to put the blame on rap music? Or is it just another case of political scapegoating? Well, I think any honest assessment of that question has to start with the music itself. So that's what we're devoting this entire episode to. My journey to understand drill rap. Okay, back to the piano, and then I'm going to call for backup. Okay, that's not what I was expecting.
Made it out the shop. If I did want to see the day, it's a setback. Every time I see the cage,
Right,
you got
okay.
one.
Yeah. So that's definitely not what I was expecting, because right away that sort of, and he goes down to the E, from the E flat to the B flat. So that's a perfect fourth interval. That's what we call it. It's a very kind of like triumphant interval, and he's going down. Usually we hear that interval going up in a lot of songs that we're familiar with. So, you know, if I go, all right, it sounds kind of triumphant, or you know, so that interval is kind of a very uplifting interval, and even the lower part. So he's like, the song kind of goes like this, right? That's the beat. Those notes, I mean, they sound very uplifting. This is not the kind of dark, gloomy drill rap that I've been reading about. Okay, so I think we're sort of hitting the point where my own musical knowledge can only take me so far. So here's what we did. We linked up with A.D. Carson, who is an assistant professor of hip hop and the Global South at the University of Virginia. He's also a rapper and musician. Here's our conversation. Hey, A.D. Carson, so nice to have you here to be my guide today. Thank you.
Oh, word. No, thank you so much for having me. It's appreciate it.
So, well, let's listen to the music. So this is Bitchware. Let's go ahead and hit play. Yeah, so pause it right here. So this is kind of what I was thinking about earlier when I first listened to this track. How, like, it almost sounds like the beat is in a major key, right? Like there's a sort of this uplifting nature to it. And is that unusual?
Yeah, I don't think that it's unusual. One of the things about Chief Keef one of the things that he changed in music is that, like, it's not necessarily about what you're saying, it's about the energy. And I think that what you're hearing there, I mean, if you look at the album cover, you've got these army men. If you sort of zoom in, you'll see that the one in the middle looks like Chief Keef.
That's Chief Keef, yeah.
And then there are all these characters around that have on hard hats. They've got military gear. They've got their weapons. And then, like, there's fire coming out of the weapons. And so I think if you take that visual with that sonic thing, then you kind of hear the music is kind of a war cry, maybe. And the energy that is being described is like what might be signified in that photo. That's the thing that I'm hearing. It's supposed to make you feel a certain way. So if you're looking for a storytelling rap, or you're looking for all of the words to correspond to some truth that exists in the life of the rapper, then I think that you're kind of missing what the music is doing on some of those other frequencies.
Okay, so you're making me want to listen more to the music. So let's go ahead and hit play again here.
Made it out the shop. If I did want to see the day, it's a setback. Every time I see the cage, you got warfare. If you do, then we can play. It got real dark. I like, bro, I see the way. It could be nacho cheese, mine a shorty Frito-Lay. I look both ways across the streets, and that shit still wasn't safe. I don't go to church. Man, damn, I need to pray. SOSABABY gang. smell. We don't know your boy, get your ass.
So, like, it's funny where you say that, you know, like mumble rap or drill rap doesn't always necessarily need to tell a story. Like, I actually think it sounds like he's telling a story, like from the get-go, right? He's talking about making it out of the shot. Like, I guess that's Chicago, right?
Yes, he is. Yeah, and I think that one of the, you know, like one of the big stories around Chief Keef is like sort of leaving Chicago. But yeah, I mean, so I'm not at all saying that rappers aren't telling stories at all. I'm saying that some of the things that might feel like they don't make sense, you might attribute to these other ways that you might be making meaning.
And like sonically, like just as you reference that, like I also think about like later in the track, there's you do hear percussion come in, right?
Yeah.
And you hear like that rapid fire hi-hat. Like to me, it kind of reminds me of gunfire, right? Like
Yes.
the rat-a-tat-tat.
Yeah, I believe that is intended. I think that the repetition, I mean, like all of these things to me, but like this is me listening to music and kind of hearing the things that I interpret.
Sure,
and I imagine that like somebody, like there's definitely going to be somebody who says like, yeah, y'all doing a whole lot of stretching here. Like y'all are trying to read things into this that's not there. But like my response to that is, who isn't making meaning based on what they bring into listening to a text?
Yeah.
And that's every single one of us. So, like, when I hear the repetition and it reminds me of the ordinariness of gun violence in America, and then you hear a song where there's like a repetitive clap that reminds you of gunfire, I can't help but hear that monotony being sonically evoked in the song.
Okay, I want to talk more about lyrics with you.
Sure.
Let's go ahead and play this here.
Snitch, that's that shit I don't like. Nah, your bitch won't do the team, bet she won't fight. Nah, bitch, we GBE, fuck who don't like. And we ain't gon' fight, our guns gon' fight. A fuck, that's that shit I don't like. Nah, a snitch, that's that shit I don't like. Nah, a bitch, that's that shit I don't like. Nah, sneak this up, that's that shit.
So, I mean, this is sort of more on track with what I expected to hear when I hear drill rap, given what I've read about drill rap, right? Like their guns are going to fight. They're talking about killing, that sort of thing. That's what I hear. What do you hear?
Yeah. When I was listening again a couple days ago, it's like, oh yeah, like the long O and the short I. That's like
What do you mean the long O and the short?
the
I?
long
What do you mean?
O and the short. So don't like. Every rhyme in the song is like in that pattern.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at the lyrics on my phone right now, and yeah, it's like shooting on sight. I don't like. She won't fight. Guns gonna fight. Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying. Like, what are you telling me? Is this poetry?
Well, I'm saying that there's something poetic that is going on. And I think the poetics of rap are far more sophisticated and nuanced than we ever give them credit for. And I'm not saying that they are like better or more intricate than what's going on in poetry, but I'm certainly saying that they are different.
What about the intention behind the words? Like, do drill rap artists, and I mean, everyone's going to be different, right? But do drill rap artists rap about things that they've done, or is it bravado? Is it like what I'm trying to understand is it reality or is it fantasy?
Yeah, no, I think that is a great question, but I think that question is what they're rapping for. Like they're rapping for you to ask that question. What I'm saying is that, you know, like what like Drake says, y'all gonna mess around and make me catch a body in here or something. Like, do we really believe that Drake might mess around and kill someone? Right. And I would argue that maybe nobody believes that Drake would ever do that.
Right. But let me jump in, because like you're making me think of, so like, you know the Biggie song Dead Wrong?
Bad boy, baby.
Yeah. With the mafia. Yeah.
Yeah.
So like that. So I remember listening to that song for the first time, like literally decades ago, right? Mm-hmm. And that was the first song that I actually love gangster rap. That was the first song that I ever listened to where I was actually shocked by the lyrics, because
Really?
Biggie gets really, I mean, he gets really extreme, right? Like really vulgar. Like he's talking about murdering people with ice picks.
I stabbed a brother with the ice pick.
But all of that was like a caricature almost.
Yeah.
I didn't believe any of it. But when
Yeah.
I listened to the drill rap, like I'm just trying to think, like, is it so close to reality? It's so gritty, it's so raw that maybe it's real.
Well, I mean, I think that that's one of the common complaints about it is that, but then we're not afforded the same privileges that like other art might get because, you know, like we are expressing ourselves in artistic form, then that's just a double standard, right? Like what I say as art is not something that is admissible, you know, like as evidence of a crime.
Well, haven't there been courts of law, like cases where prosecutors have submitted rap lyrics?
They have, but you know, like we also see how. So the question there is like, who's interpreting the lyrics? And a lot of times in these cases, the experts that are interpreting the lyrics are police officers. And here's the thing: I'm not going to trust the person who arrested me with telling me what the lyrics in my songs might mean.
You're joining me in conversation with A.D. Carson, and we are trying to understand drill rap a little bit better, sonically, lyrically, and also how drill rap is being used and sometimes blamed, right, A.D.? Because, like,
Yeah.
I mean, what do you make of the fact that, like, I've seen a number of American lawmakers who seem to think that drill rap explains the violence that we see in the United States? Like, what's your take on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I would just, you know, if one of those people asked me that, then I would probably say, so are we denying the fact that the U.S. homicide rate is, like in 2020, was 7 times greater than those of other industrialized economies, and guns accounted for 80% of those homicides? You think
it's just a clear-cut case of drill rap being scapegoated?
I mean, well, think about like gun violence in America and then the way that it gets described. Like, so if you're in a school, elementary school, high school, university, in a church, in a synagogue, in a grocery store, at the nation's capital, nowhere can you go in the United States and be free from gun violence. So what makes the gun violence that happens to rappers somehow special? No one is saying gospel music is the reason that, like, why are so many gospel listeners being shot?
Yeah.
Because all we would have to do is look at one mass shooting at a church, and it's probably going to be a lot more than the number of rappers that we're talking about. But we never individualize those tragedies. So the weekend that Takeoff was killed, how many mass shootings happened in the United States? I think 9. And one of them was a mass shooting on a park in Chicago. Now, I'm not saying that like one tragedy like outweighs the other, but one certainly has gotten a whole lot more airtime than the other.
Right. Yeah,
And I think
this is a cycle that we've seen before too, right? Like I mean, with video games, I got like even Dungeons and Dragons back in the 90s, the 80s, whatever it was.
Yes.
Same sort of thing.
Yes, and what you're saying is absolutely true about video games. After Uvalde, Texas, when that happened, then I think it's Ronnie Jackson gets on TV and he's like, yeah, it's the video games and the rap music. America's moral compass is off.
Kids are exposed to all kinds of horrible stuff nowadays too. I look back and I think about the horrible stuff that they hear when they listen to rap music, the video games that they watch from a really early age with all of this horrible violence and stuff. And I just think that, and they have this access to the internet on a regular basis, which is, is just not good for kids, I don't think.
And it's like, fam, neither a video game nor a rap song killed those people. Mm-hmm. What are you talking about?
So, AD, let me push you one more time here.
Word.
Because, like, I guess I wonder, can two things be true at once, right? Like if I get what you're saying, I think you're saying that drill rap and the violent nature of the lyrics, I mean, that is just reflecting the violence that is around them, right? That has presumably been caused by other things.
Yes.
But can that be true at the same time as the fact that or the idea that drill rap can be in some way responsible for the perpetuation of violence? Are these two things definitely two different pictures in your mind, or can they both be true?
Okay, so no, I get the question. I appreciate the question, and I appreciate the push and the opportunity, like, for clarification. I'm not saying that the violence that is perpetrated or perpetuated in the music is okay. I'm not saying that we shouldn't worry about that and that we shouldn't have conversations about it. But if I'm going to say that, like, it's my fault that I got killed because I made that music, then you're blaming me for getting killed, like, because of the music that I made, rather than blaming the conditions that create the violence that took me. And so, like, I didn't kill myself. You know, Takeoff or PNB Rock or Nipsey Hussle, these aren't people who've killed themselves. And so, while, I mean, in the same way that I'm not going to look at the mirror and then, like, and then say that mirrors are causing me to look ugly because I look in the mirror and I'm ugly, right? Because like I could clean the mirror. Like, there are a lot of things that I could even break the mirror. That's not going to make the reality different. That doesn't mean that people are going to stop shooting each other. That doesn't mean that, like, our cities are going to be underfunded. It doesn't mean that our schools aren't going to be awful and underfunded, or that, like, there won't be corruption in City Hall. And I don't know. I think that poverty might be a better explanation for why somebody might rob somebody than rap music.
A.D. Carson, we could talk for another half hour easily about all of this, but I want to thank you genuinely for helping us walk through the music and taking us through a pretty important point of view. Thank you so much, man.
No, thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You know, it's funny. I mentioned the video game parallel with A.D. Carson there. And I do remember being a kid and being really into video games. And I mean, I'm still kind of into video games. But I remember thinking that whenever I heard grown-ups at the time, and, you know, this was decades ago, talking about how video games were sort of an instigator of violence, I remember just kind of personally thinking, man, that just feels kind of unfair, right? Like I was listening to people who didn't know about video games because they didn't take part in it, sort of paint my world with a single brush color. And, you know, I think that experience, in hindsight, now that I think about it, probably informed the way that I wanted to do this episode. And I really did want it to be a kind of a genuine, you know, curious exploration of drill rap and what it is. And I hope I accomplished that. And I'll probably listen to more on my way home. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. It's been a pleasure. See you tomorrow.